Okay. Um, Working. Come on. Where are you? There we go. Are we back? Okay. So yeah, it was
I
a
got no
delayed
audio.
black screen, and I'm like, hey, go back to the main live thing. Can you hear me at all, or no? You can't hear me? Perfect. Okay. Stay where you are. I'll log back out and come back in. Can you hear me now? No. Fuck. Come on, dude. Wait. Is that good? Yes? No? No audio? What the hell? You gotta be kidding me. This I can see it on my side, like I have audio on my side. Um this is not going great. What is going on? I
Can you
never had
hear
this
me?
issue. Yeah, I can hear you.
I
Can
can't
you
hear.
can,
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know why you
Nothing.
can't hear me.
You're muted or something.
No, I'm not muted.
You want
Let
me to
me
jump
try.
out and come back in?
Yeah, jump out and jump back in. I'll stay on.
All right.
So, hi everybody. We're doing a live stream today, and I'm just trying to figure out how Eric is gonna get his audio working. Um, oh, see, yeah, you can hear us both. I don't know why he can't hear me, so I'm seeing if he can log back in and correct his audio settings. Um, yeah, good times. Technology live stream. This is just how it works. Anyway. Yes, this is the first time I've been able to do a podcast since I got out of running for Congress. So this is exciting. We're also testing live streaming to Facebook today since we have some events coming up with the Colorado Hispanic Republicans and some other things. So I'm testing a live stream on Facebook today. Oh, let's see. Add to
I hear
stage.
you.
Oh, I can hear you now too.
All right, we fixed
All
it.
right, we're good. We're good. We're back. All right, everybody. This is Adam Dorito here with Erik Holt, and we're back on episode number 77 of the Tuxes and Tomahawks podcast. I'm excited. I haven't been able to really podcast since I dropped out of running for Congress, which I'm sure we're gonna talk about because I met Mr. I met Mr. Erik Holt a couple months ago, basically. And
Yeah.
Eric has a fascinating story. A lot of people like to talk about the Tina Peters case and election fraud and all these other things. But here's the thing. Eric actually had a live experience with this during his time serving in Colorado as a fire chief. So, Eric, I want to welcome you to the show. And you have a fascinating and very interesting story. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I think we're gonna talk about a lot of really important things, especially coming into the 2026 midterms, the 2028 presidential election. Like what you experience is not uncommon, and it's something that I think the public really needs to know about.
Well, hey, I'm glad you thought it was enjoying and entertaining because, man, it's been a rough 3 years. But we are, you're only a victim if you shut up. That's the
Exactly, and you
thing.
have a way better mustache than me because mine has to stay in regulation, and yours you
Yeah,
get to do the whole fireman thing, and I'm kind of jealous. This is the bad part about trying to stay in the military. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's literally the face of the movement, if you will.
It is the face of the movement. Yes, exactly. So Eric, tell me a little bit about yourself so everyone gets to know who you are. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you come from? How did you end up in being a fire chief and your time in service in the army and everything else?
Awesome. Yeah, man. I grew up in Northern California, not the crazy coastal California, like inland, very conservative part of California, which is where I'm back to right now. But uh, normal childhood in rural America, growing up, tipping cows on the weekends and trying to stay out of trouble. But 9/11 happened when I was in high school, and the natural thing to do was get in shape, join the army. So I did that. Was fortunate enough to be an army firefighter. 21 Mike was, I think it was 51 Mike, then I went 21 Mike, and I think it's a 12 Mike now, if I remember right. But did my 5 active, deployed to Iraq in 2005. Ramadi, Iraq was entertaining little tourist town.
Yeah,
Um,
totally a tourist town in Ramadi back in the early
yeah,
2000s there. Yeah.
yeah, good times. Uh, Survived that, came back, had a kid. She's now 18 years old. Um, got out of the army, started raising kids and working as a professional fireman. So initially got out at Fort Hood, worked at Fort Hood Fire Department for about 5, 6 years, and then transferred up to Fort Carson, where I was there till 2022. Got a divorce and went through a custody battle in the courts. I was awarded full custody as a single dad, which is a triumph of its own, right? And then
Hmm.
that shift life just wasn't very conducive to raising two teenage girls at the time. I think they were 15 and 11, if I remember accurately. 14, 15 actually, and 10 or 11. And just was looking for what the next sort of chapter could be, and that
Sure.
aligned. And during that sort of court process, which was probably about 6 months long, that final stage of it, I got a phone call to be an interim fire chief within my local community in Florissant. So if you were to look on a map of Colorado, right dead center is Colorado Springs. If you go just west of there, you got Woodland Park, and just past that is Florissant, up in the mountains. So
Right.
um, sleepy little mountain town, but absolutely gorgeous. It was a great place to live. Took over a tumultuous fire department that was just in absolute chaos, man. All but one board members out of five had resigned. The chief had been put on paid admin leave. They had next to nothing going on, responders wise, qualifications wise. Response times were atrocious. And so in that little interim period, man, it was when about 5 months I decided, like, this fits the personal life, it fits the professional life. Let me put in for the job permanently. I
Yeah.
got that. And then the rest of the story will kind of launch from there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I grew up as a volunteer firefighter. That's how I started my career back in the day, back in West Milford, New Jersey. Went through, well, we had Scott packs back then, like steel canisters. We didn't have the carbon fiber stuff yet. No, because I'm getting old now, but no, I mean,
It's a,
it's something that like you even grew up with in the army. You served in Ramadi. I mean, that's admirable because everyone understands. Like the early 2000s is when everyone thought the war was cool. You know what I mean? Like we are blowing up bad guys, and it was before we realized how corrupt everything was going on in Iraq. And then the
yeah.
2008 financial crisis hits, and everything started going downhill from there for our generation. But I mean, you came back and you still wanted to serve a community. I mean, I've been doing the same thing for years, and I think what breaks my heart is like I hear stories about guys like you and stuff that I went through here. And you were just trying to do the right thing and serve your community. And like, so how did this whole corruption process start? Because the things that you witnessed happened in real time. And a lot of people like to talk about the Tina Peters case and,
Yeah.
election fraud and everything else. And this is the thing. You weren't an elected official. You
No.
were not someone who was involved in politics. You were just trying to be a fire chief and serve your community. But somehow you got wrapped up into this and you started exposing, even at the smallest local level in Colorado, the issues that we're having with our elections. So kind of tell that story and how that really started to develop, because I think it's a really fascinating case that a lot of Coloradans are not aware of, that happens around the entire state.
Yeah, without trying to delve too much into the broken special district system of Colorado.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just a fire chief. I take over this tumultuous situation, which inherently is going to have an opposition, right?
Right.
Um, I was very pragmatic and very honest with the board. The board had been constituted through a special process by the Board of County Commissioners because
Hmm.
there was no board, right? So they were appointed to fill the seats to the next election. So this happens, let's say May, June 2022. The election is going to be May 2023. All right. In September, I was selected as the permanent fire chief. I go under contract with the district. You make a very good distinction. I was not an elected official. I was a
Yep.
contracted employee of the district with
Hmm.
a huge list of credentials professionally and a 20 plus year career, right? That put me in that position. Not, just I had a good idea or I was, I don't, anointed into this, right? This is a professional career decision. So I lay out a vision for rebuilding the department. Um, and so the metrics that I use when I tell this story is I take over department, 4 or 5 responders that were unqualified. Response times were 18, 19 minutes, depending on the month you pulled it. But
Yeah.
in emergency services, 18 or 19 minutes, sometimes you just might as well not even show up, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just
That's why
like
we
it's
had six fire departments in my hometown because we had the largest township in West Milford, New Jersey. So we had three first aid squads and six fire departments because, like you said, time is everything.
hugely. Yeah, I mean, it is literally the difference between life and death. So the national standard is 7 minutes. That was the target goal, and again, September of 2020. to I'm hired, full time. I just hit the ground running. I had already had some interim time, which was about 5 months. And so we just started going. And so by January of 2023, which is leading into this election, 62 responders that are qualified. We had, I think, 12, 13 EMTs on staff at that point, and response times hit 7 minutes. So from
Mhm.
September to January, a complete rebuild takes place, right? Um, but what I call professionalizing a department, even though it's rural, mostly volunteer staff, is met with resistance. And if you already have ill intentions, all you have to do is be the loudest voice in the community. You can accuse anybody of anything at any time, and
Right.
you just repeat it, right? You sow doubt, to the point. I'm like going back through this because I'm working on the book, right? Like, and um, looking back through some of like the social media stuff of like literally being in front of these 60 people, accusing them of like not existing, right?
Mhm.
This is the level that it went to, and so uh, you know that leads into May 2023. The election takes place. Again, I'm the fire chief, man. I'm not, I do my best to stay out of the political arena, out of the election campaigns. I
Yep.
endorse nobody. I give no
Yep.
interviews in favor of anybody. When I'm asked stuff, I literally just reflect like on the operational success of what the department has become. Um, and so, because it was very contentious, this slate of five people had emerged, and there'll be a recurring theme in all of this. But they literally had a campaign of vote for one, vote for all. We're a group of five because there was 5 seats available,
Mhm.
which in American elections is pretty wonky to begin with.
Right.
Um, but so it happens, right? The board, because of that contentious nature, that was the incumbent board, voted and passed a resolution to hire an outside designated election official who was a paralegal at a law firm, the law firm that actually represented the fire district. And so it kicks off, man. Leading up to, there was some pretty pivotal moments. We had a major fire that threatened the whole town. We ended up getting out of that without a single structural loss, a single person injured, nothing. Like we came out pretty unscathed. Um, and then we held the biggest fundraiser in the history of the department 3 days before the election took place. And that wasn't planned really, like that close proximity. When I came in September, it was literally like part of the vision is let's throw this. It happened to just land. But it was a community event fundraiser, right? So we threw it like an old town, like an old time American Fourth of July barbecue,
Right.
and the community came out in droves, right? So then we launched 3 days later. The election takes place. I work from home, so I'm not there. There was a pretty big concern of like whose presence would be there, and if I was there, then somebody could view that as supporting one side or the other.
Sure.
So I was tasked to just work from home. I opened the station, literally like 6 in the morning. I show up, I unlock the door, I give an extension cord to the designated election official. I'm like, I'm out. See ya. Um, but I'm sure everybody. I don't have to explain this to the audience, but some people seem to miss it. But 911 doesn't stop. Doesn't matter if
No.
it's Christmas or an election's happening, or I'm eating dinner. Like, calls still coming. So we were running calls. One of those calls ends up being what came in as a difficulty breathing, but during transport becomes a cardiac arrest, CPR in progress. Medevac has to land, places me there at the station, right? That's the
Right.
medevac lane. So we do a lot of work on this guy, 30 minutes of CPR, and as sad as it is, like there's nothing we could do. He's
Nope.
pronounced there, right? And so I gotta go tell the family. This is my job as a local fire chief is, hey, we did everything we could. These are, every step that we took and everything that we tried. And I'm sorry to inform you, but your family members, passed. It is, uh, I don't mean to speak of it kind of blankly or like emotionless. That's just part of the job, but
Yeah.
it's
It's a hard
very,
conversation to have.
yeah, very every time, man. I've done it. I can't even count how many times, but it's terrible every time.
Yep.
So I go and do this, and like this is what gets lost in the story is the humanity part of that, right?
Yeah.
um and this opposing force that doesn't care at all. I literally come back.
No, they don't.
um and let me highlight, like, I'm landing the medevac, right? Like, literally, I'm ground contact. I'm coordinating. I ask everybody to go inside. Three of the candidates defied that. They're the only three people that do, and they sit on a tailgate and they watch everything that's going on. And then one decides he's bored, so he drives like he's leaving the parking lot as the
Oh my
ambulance is
God.
pulling in and the
Jesus Christ.
helicopter's landing, right?
Oh,
Doing
okay. Yeah,
acting.
right. That's how that works.
Yeah. So I'm literally like, talk about foreshadowing of like the mentality of these people, right? They're just
Yeah.
defiant, whatever. So anyways, I go tell the family, I come back, and this is where, like, when I talk about this, man, it's a morality fire. That's what I have come to coin this as, is like, when it's something that strikes so deep into what you believe that the inferno that comes inside means you only have one choice.
Right.
And this is where it starts. A voter comes out, comes and shows me a picture on their phone, and she's like, hey, this is one of the poll watchers, and she's on her phone in the electioneering, like literally as defiantly as you can. There's cones set up, says no electioneering, and all the rules of that, right? On
Hmm.
these piece of papers stapled to these cones. And she's on her phone inside that electioneering. She's like, hey, I just want to report this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm not the person to report that to. She goes, well, look, I need to tell you this because I was walking out behind her on her phone, and I know all these signs say she's not allowed to be on a phone, not electioneering. But what I overheard is, did you pay them? Pause. And then I keep walking behind, and she's like, oh, is this the vehicle? And describes it, the vehicle pulling in. And whoever she's talking to is obviously like, coordinating this, right?
Correct.
And I said, well, is there anything else? She's like, yeah, like she motioned these people out of their vehicle over to her, and then I could hear her tell the names to go vote for her. And I'm like, well, that sounds
Oh my
as
God.
much like electioneering and violating the law as I've ever heard. But I'm not the person. Go tell this to the DEO, right? The designated election official. And so I leave the station, man. I'm just, but like, you want to talk about something in the back of your head that bugs you? That was
And this
it.
is and this is something that's missing the conversation about election fraud. Is everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's the machines and it's Ukraine and it's Russia and it's the system and it's Palantir." And I'm like, in Colorado, right? Even in my experiences,
Yeah.
the election fraud is not necessarily mechanical, right? Or like
Yeah.
done by the wizards of the internet. It's done by the people that have been in power for so long that they engineer a result they want that is very hard and difficult to trace because they pre-coordinate between each other. These Facebook groups or YouTube groups or text message groups or signal groups or whatever else it is. And then like you've seen this. Like I saw it in real time during my election process and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I did not anticipate that level of fraud. And they go, well, it's not fraud. It's not fraud. The machines are fine. I'm like, yeah, but the thing is that you pre-coordinated all this through emails or text messages, and then you
Right.
delete your groups, and like, and you saw that in real time. And I think that's missing from the conversation on the national scale, right? Is that
Right.
it's not necessarily the machines or some kind of Russia hack. It's the people that are in power that control the entire system that consistently swing results in their favor by the ones who know how to play by the rules and how to manipulate them to their favor.
Yeah, one correction, Adam. I didn't see it real time. I just This comes after, and I'll get into it. But to your point, like the Denver Broncos don't run one play in offense, right?
Right.
There's a playbook, and I am one play of the scheme that happens. And
Hmm.
through my process and through my story, I've learned like how many different plays there are
There's a lot.
on stealing our voices, right? Because
Hmm.
that is the democratic process.
Well, because normal
Um,
Americans don't deal with this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't
right.
even understand the entire process at all either when I was running. Like, you as an American, like, you get a ballot in the mail. It's not to interrupt your story, but just kind of keep it like
It's
to
true.
kind of describe how this goes. Because you as an American, you get a ballot in the mail, and then you see the candidates that are listed on the ballot. You're like, oh, well, this is who I can vote for. But you don't understand the entire process of what is required to even get those people printed on the ballot and the
Right.
amount of social control that acts in the background between all these little things that we're talking about, whether it's showing up as a precinct committee person or a district captain or your individual county commissioner races
Yeah.
or your county GOP or DNC or whatever party you're in. Like there's so many controls leading up to that point of the election that like 99% of the Americans I talk to don't understand how that process works.
And I'm still learning, but like in your
Yeah,
case,
so
right?
am
They
I.
just don't show up on the day they're
Con-
supposed to, right? And
Conveniently, when
magically,
we just spent 3 weeks getting them elected to that position, right?
yeah.
Like,
Oops, I
weird.
forgot to show up to the thing that guaranteed, the
So it's
amount of
technically
votes
it's not
necessary.
illegal that I didn't show up, but you're
Right.
manipulating the results to the favored
Yeah.
candidate, right? Like
Yeah,
that's how
the
they do it.
inter-party sort of gatekeeping is what I've
Oh,
seen.
we'll get to that later in your podcast for sure. Because unfortunately,
Yeah.
you still are somewhat involved in Colorado politics, and you deal with some of the stuff I do in real time. But like, it's not to
No.
take away from your story because like you before you started getting involved in this and the federal court and everything else, like you became a victim of the system.
Yeah, and here's the like I didn't even vote, man. I was just doing my job. And like this is the warning, the shot across the bow, if you will, like to every American that will hear my story. I couldn't have been a more average dude. Like,
Yeah,
you
tell
know,
me about it.
great that my career brought me to being a fire chief, which like not everybody gets to that, right? But I'm a single dad raising kids in America, working to provide for them,
Hmm.
right? Like, and I did my job well. And holy cow, did I end up in a mess.
Because
Um,
you touched their little prize system. You touched the system of control that they don't want you to be involved in. You're not part of the club, Eric. You didn't figure that out yet.
yeah, I actually don't think like I watched how it unfolded for you and
Yeah,
for other friends that are running for
sure.
positions in Colorado, right? Different in dynamic, but like still the same, right? I don't think these
Hmm.
people were like part of the bigger picture. I think that they manipulated a local system and nobody gave a shit to correct. Like, and
Correct.
I have data points to back that up throughout the whole story, man. Like
Hmm.
it's insanity. Um, one uh specific character is still in a campaign that, if I can undermine by all means, which sucks because right now he's the only conservative. But
Yeah.
if you're fake, then I don't care that you're what party you are. But we'll get to
Hmm.
that part. um, yeah, if you want me to kind of like how let me finish the entry into this, man.
Yeah.
Like, so I leave the station from that complaint of like, hey, I just overheard somebody saying like, did you pay him coordinating vehicle delivery, or like arrivals, right? Uh, and this person you actually I've watched you interact with on social media because she like hunts down everything that I do and tell the story and like tells these fictitious stories about like explaining that away. Like, somebody
Oh,
was
because
bringing
she
me flowers.
and because she said it on the internet, it must be true,
Right. Yeah, I
right?
just, I ignore them, but it's hilarious that you have to go to like 3 years later, you're hunting down the comment section to like defend yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I don't name these people. I have no desire to give them any attention.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, man, like, so I leave the station, I go about my day, and then like later, I mean, I run calls. I think we ran like 6 calls that day. So like responding, coming back, resupply, all this stuff away from the station. I like 7 o'clock at night, I'm sitting like having dinner with the kids, and a poll watcher is posting the election results. And I'm like, poll watchers aren't supposed to be doing that.
No.
And let me make this slate very clear. I knew none of the election laws whatsoever. I
Yeah.
had no clue what any of them were. But
Most
just
Americans
common
don't.
sense stuff. Like an election official is who and I knew the procedure that it had to be posted on the department website. It had to be vetted, all this stuff. So why is a poll watcher posting on Facebook groups and celebrating that their candidates won? And I was like, that's weird. But like an hour later, I got to go back to the station to lock it up. DEO's packing up her car. And I like to describe this. She's a great person, right? Like, nothing against the election official that was hired to do it. But she looked like she had been through a heavyweight fight, like not bruised and swollen, but just like exhausted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you okay? Like, can you drive back to Denver where, the Denver metro area where she lived? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. It's just chaos, just a crazy day. And I'm like, okay, like, and like at that point, the count was known, but it wasn't official either. So she was just like, I gotta go, we gotta canvass this, we gotta do all this stuff. But like, here's the preliminary results. And I'm like, that's a surprise. So a point of interest here, incumbents generally always win,
Hmm.
and an incumbent that can run on a successful track record. So remember, the board that was an incumbent had in less than a year, you know, empowered me as the fire chief and supported the vision to go from 4 or 5 responders with 18-minute response times and equipment that was broken and everything to
Yeah.
62 members, 7-minute response times, new equipment, like all this stuff, full
Right.
time, 24/7 staffing. Um, what are the odds in a fair and impartial vote that the success and the incumbent is going to be defeated? Well, surprisingly, they were defeated on paper by like, you know 70% or something like that. Like
Hmm.
it was quite an anomaly of the vote totals. Um, so anyway, go back to bed. I didn't lose sleep, man. I didn't care, like, per se, right? Like, my job, I needed a board to support what I did, but I was a contracted employee with the district. I had like a 3-year contract.
Right.
Nothing changed in my job description when these people changed over. So day or two goes by. I'm like getting off work. I'm in the local market, like probably buying hamburger helper, macaroni and cheese to make for the kids because I'm a busy dude, for dinner. And somebody else comes up like, "Hey man, that election today was something wrong." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, "Oh, well, I went and voted and I was being filmed and me mugged and like poll watchers were talking shit at me." And I was like, "What?" Again, common
Yeah.
sense says that's just not allowed. Okay.
Right.
So I called the DEO and I'm like, "Hey, I just got another complaint. Like, if this is true, it's concerning. What do we do?" And she's like, "Hey, man, like, hold on, let me get the actual attorney on the phone with." And we're like 3-way call. And they're like, "We've gotten a few more complaints, like in writing. We've got a pretty high level of concern of what took place, but you need to just kind of do your job. We're like looking into things and like something's wonky, but don't get involved." And I'm like, "All right, cool. Yeah, I got, understood, lawyer." You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, I'm just an idiot that's good at, making bleeding stop and people that can't breathe again. Like, that's my skill set. I'm not an attorney. Um,
It's like
but
half
I
of the
go,
people that vote anyway need that anyway.
it's
They're all
true.
geriatrics.
So I go home, man, and I'm just like spinning in my head. I'm like, the two things I've heard are extremely alarming. And now I've been told like there's more complaints.
And this is all independent complaints too. It's not like these people coordinated to complain to you,
Correct.
right? Yeah, and
Correct.
that's important to know.
Yeah. Um, it is. And when it's people that aren't tied together, like small town, everybody knows each other, right? But like it's not husband and wife and it's not, you know, kid and parent, right? They're different
Right.
households, probably different friend groups or whatever that are making these complaints. And I'm like, all right. So I put my kids to bed, um, go through that routine, and I just literally am like sitting on the edge of my bed one night, or that same night, I'm sorry, and I'm just like, I can't get it out of my head. That fire that I talked about is just like raging, and I'm like, "Man, like your best interest is to not do anything. You're raising these two girls. Like it's just me. It's the only income. Like just turn a blind eye." Put your head down, do what these people are gonna do, and run an apartment. And uh, believe me, over the last 3 years, there's been points where I was like, man, I wish I was just built to do that. You know what I mean? I
Right.
wish that could have been like a sheep in that moment and just put my head down, right, wrong, or indifferent, and just done it. But I'm not built that way. So I'm literally like, all right, Eric, like talking like I am right now. Are you ready for this? Like, if you get involved, your world's gonna collapse. Are you ready for this
Touching the
consequence?
dragon's tail, Eric.
Yeah, yeah, pull in on it, man. And I literally just I had to say it out loud to myself, which is probably crazy to anyone that hears this, but I'm just like, "You ready for the consequences, man? As a single dad, you ready to take this on?" And I was like,
What's the worst that could happen?
"Yeah,
I'm
wow."
just I'm just a guy trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yep.
fully believed in like
Yeah.
morality and integrity, right? So I'm just like,
You'd think so.
whatever it is, I'm ready for it. And so I knew what that decision meant, and to spare the suspense, right? Like, I knew the third party company that had these servers for the security system at the fire station, and I
Hmm.
know that it was all recorded. And so
Right.
I go to work the next day. I get up. Uh, do my normal day, come home, change, put on civilian clothes, get in my own personal truck that's not marked with any, decals or anything, go to Walmart in Woodland Park, buy a thumb drive, show up in Woodland Park to this third party vendor.
Hmm.
Um, who obviously has a business name, but spare that. But I showed up and I'm like, hey, I need, you know, basically what everybody understands is a FOIA. Like, I need the security footage from this public tax funded building from this
Nothing
date to
wrong with
this
that.
date.
Yep.
No questions were asked. A lot of people are like, and that lady that you've engaged with will claim that it's like illegal to have the footage, right?
No,
It's
it's
not.
not.
It's not at all. It's public building. If you were going to Walmart, you're being recorded, right?
Right.
Signs were posted, all that stuff. So I literally like tell them, they're like, all right, cool. It'll take us time to download it, but we'll let you know. And a day later, the next day, maybe it was 2 days. It's been a couple years, but like they call me like, hey, it's ready to pick up. So I go in there and here's your money. Thanks for your services. Take the thumb drive home. And I get home and still have dad life to do. So I cook, put them to bed, all this stuff, man. And I want to tell you, like, I it's my little joke to it, but like that thumb drive felt like it was the nuclear launch codes, dude, because I knew as soon as I
Well, it
plugged it
was.
in,
You didn't know that?
yeah, it might as well have been for my life. It was a nuke that detonated, but I knew what was contained on there, right? It was footage, security footage, and if I found something, I was in the crosshairs. Or
Hmm.
even if they found out that I looked, even if I found nothing, I was in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
So girls are in bed, man. I literally sit down and I'm like, what do you look for, dude? Like, I didn't even know election laws. So I had the forethought. Let me look up election laws in the state of Colorado, specifically under Title 32, special district elections.
Right.
Um, and lo and behold, one of the attachments to that is 1505, 1505-05, Rule 8 CCR, something like that, is poll watcher rules. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, well, all the complaints have been against poll watchers. And I read them and I'm like, oh, this aligns exactly with what people told me. No cell phones, no recording, no tabulating of votes, no disseminating of votes, like blah, 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 right? Basically, for anybody that doesn't know the rules and laws, a poll watcher is allowed to sit no closer than 6 feet from any ballot at any time and observe quietly. That's it. That's what they're allowed to do.
Yeah.
And if they were to see an election official impartially saying you can't vote because you're going to vote for this candidate, then they can raise an issue. Outside of something like that, that is discrimination against the laws, they are to sit there quietly. So the thumb drive contains 4 folders, 12 files each, and they are 1 hour clips from 4 different cameras of election day. So election started at 7 a.m. 7 to 8 was, clip one, right? And so we start. Uh, I sit down and start watching, and literally, like within the first 15 minutes or something, the lady that you've engaged with opens her laptop, and you can see on her screen because the camera's behind them.
Right.
Uh, she's recording the room, and I'm like,
Yeah, you can't do that.
yeah, no electronic devices. Okay, tally mark. No recording, tally mark. And then like it dawned. Like as I go through this 40 some odd hours of footage, because 4 cameras on a 12-hour day, um, I am better at math than that. The distinction is one of the rooms was empty for all but like 3 hours of the day. So the total footage is like 43 hours. But as I watch, anytime I see something that is against these like 15, 16 rules, I'll just put a tally mark and I'll go through it.
Yeah.
Seemed like the thing to do. I'm not an investigator. I've never done law enforcement in life except for basically tease cops. And so
Yeah, because everyone knows that everyone likes firefighters better than cops. Just putting that out there.
it's it's a fact, man. We have better mustaches, we have better food, generally smarter.
Cooler trucks,
Chicks dig us,
better
right?
toys. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so literally, like, man, I go through over the next few days like 43, 44 hours of footage. And by the time I'm done, I've got this piece of paper, man, with tally marks on it, and it's hundreds of tally marks. And I'm like,
That is a problem.
yeah, hundreds of violations of the law, which again, that's like illegal conduct, right? If we're gonna, I'm not an attorney, let me put that out there, but like, if you break a law, that's illegal. If it
Weird.
happens hundreds of times, by
It's
a
intent.
coordinated group,
It's
it's not
intent.
an accident.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do with that, man? Well, I had to go back through and I had to put all the pieces together based on all the rules. And to give you the 15-second highlight of that, I started with the time that I knew I was there and I had talked to that person giving me the complaint, and I rewinded about a minute and a half.
Hmm.
And lo and behold, I can hear the conversation, which has been put on my social medias for everybody to go see. But is that Paul Watcher? What I can't hear that the complainant said is because of wind is the did you pay him part, which is probably the most consequential part.
Right.
But the rest of everything that you can hear on that clip is this the vehicle? You can see the motioning of the people. You can see getting close, hear him talking and telling the names, right? And so the rest of it all lined up. And I said, okay, cool. There's two data points. Poll watcher is violating law. And second, she's on the phone with somebody, which means somebody offsite is coordinating this vehicle showing up.
Right.
Okay, boom. Let's tie the rest of it. So I go back to the interior camera, that same one where I could see her open the laptop and she was recording, and I could watch all 12 hours of that. And what I kept seeing was weird interactions with voters as they were leaving the screens. They were like tipping their hats, or they were giving like these really, most of them were pretty subtle about it, right? They were trying to be like, but some were like, hey, or
Hmm.
pointing, and they would always do it to the poll watchers. And I could see them taking actions in their hands and then like showing each other. And so
Mm.
finally, I catch a few clips of it. Again, on my social media are these clips, but they're clicking track counters and then they're comparing the numbers throughout the day.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, is that inherently enough to guarantee a victory? Because that's what I need to probably prove is whether they're controlling an outcome or they're just sort of like violating rules to keep counts. Illegal is illegal, but like there's different levels to it, right? Um, so that camera that was only active like 3 hours a day happened to be an engine bay. 365 days a year, it's where I park a fire engine, right? And there's a security camera in there in case one day I come in work and the fire engine's missing or equipment's missing, right? It's a security
Right.
camera. Most everybody out there understands what a security system is for. These people have a huge problem with security, apparently. But that camera would be activated when people came in, turned the lights on, and were sitting there. It happened to be where they set up the ballot counting room. And in that ballot counting room was what dropped me, man. What I could see is the track counters in there. There's audio in that camera, and literally like an election judge hired by that DEO to like run the election was like, "Who's going to enforce the rules? Not me." While poll watchers, as they count out names, are like visibly sitting there right in front of her, like,
Wow.
and then
That's like
like,
such blatant fraud.
oh, it
Like
was
it's
so blatant.
blatant.
It was like literally on audio and video, man, and literally to the point where like one of the poll watchers opens a ballot envelope, which is like red flag one on the rules, right? No, no
Yeah.
touching of ballots. It's
Yeah.
called spoliation. And then the final home run was there. I think there was three counts on the footage, right? Between count two and count three, two poll watchers meet another poll watcher under a camera, and one of the candidates comes walking up. Now, this candidate is not allowed to be on site.
Hmm.
That is against the rule as well. But they meet, and it's got audio as well. They detail this is how many votes there are. If we stay under this many, we've won. And then I call him bearded poll watcher. Is like, yeah, just so you know, they don't care in there. So we're just counting every time they call our names out, and we're like way ahead. And I was like, well, I don't have to prove anything. It's
Yeah.
on high definition video. So I call the attorney back, man, and I'm like, I found something extremely alarming. I know you told me not to do anything and not get involved, but I did. Here's what I found. And she's like, oh my God. So I also let the incumbent board president know who's in that like lame duck period by this point. And
Right.
I'm like, I found a full on scheme. Like it's holy cow. And so the attorney calls the DA's office outside of my knowledge. At the point she called, we were all kind of like figuring out what to do. Okay. So there's a trinity of what happens. The attorney that represents the district reports it to the district attorney's office. The incumbent board president files a court injunction in the local district court for an investigation and stay of the results.
Mhm.
I'm sort of wedged in between trying to figure out what to do, and I get impatient, and I call the DA's office. Um, I think at that point, the attorney had let me know that she had talked to him, so I was just like, you know, raring to go, basically. And so I called, and I'm like, I need to talk to the DA, who is campaigning right now. We'll get to him. Um, but they were like, you can't talk to him. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm a tax-paying member of society. Let me talk to this guy. And he's like, you know, it's a district for like 1 million people, man. You're not going to talk to the head guy. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, here's why
Wow.
I'm calling. This is what I've found. And they're like, oh, okay. So an investigator calls me back who has already spoken to the attorney behind the scenes. I don't know this, right? He's like, hey, I'm taking this on. I'm not the guy, but the guy is on leave. He's coming back next week. In the interim, I'm collecting all the evidence. He said, what I hear is you've uncovered something pretty crazy. And I'm like, yep. Uh,
Understatement.
yeah, I need to give you the footage of this and I need to show you. And he's like, all right, I need to get it ASAP. And we talk at like pretty late in the evening. He's like, I need you to meet me at 5 a.m. And I'm like, done, man. Like
Sure.
before work, because he didn't want to wait till after I got off work. So I meet him. Um, you know, we have some coffee. I literally put on the highlights of the footage. And a lot of this gets filled in later, but in his report from meeting with me, he says like, I was provided this video footage with a copy of the poll watcher rules from the state of Colorado statutes. It is clear to me that election violations have taken place at this location. Right,
Sure.
that's supplement one in the investigation file. And so like I'm in it now, man. I'm in it. When the incumbent board president filed the motion in court, um, it was pretty specific, right? Like what had been found. And then she also posts a public agenda. So in Colorado, open meeting laws, you have to post agendas 24 hours prior to a meeting.
Right.
We're approaching the time where like that transition is supposed to happen. And so she posts a memo that says like, due to an open criminal investigation into election violations, the meeting is being postponed. I think it was to like June 14th. And this is
Interesting.
May 23rd. The people that have been declared the winners were like, we're not playing that game. We're seizing power, they call it. And they just sort of declare themselves in power,
Of
right?
course they did.
With a fury and a quickness that like um and I don't want to push like too much time on this issue, but like so day one they come in like we're in power. The incumbent board like the court will decide we're just going to get out of the way and not keep going with this chaos because of course it's playing out on Facebook and
Oh, it's almost exactly like what they did with the Colorado GOP overthrow like a year and a half ago. Like
yeah.
they made up a meeting and then they overthrew Dave and whatever else and then they declared themselves in charge and the next thing you know they're on Jeff Bill saying like I'm the new chair and I rented out a building already. We already have signs being printed and I'm like, dude, it's being contested in court and then it ended up getting thrown out. But it's like what Eli Bremer and the rest of them did too. Like these people had a pre-coordinated plan. They went in there, they threw the election, they did their whatever rules they want, and then people are it's like the situation you're dealing with. It's like the people don't know the actual election rules or anything else, and they get so obfuscated by everything that's going on. They just go, "Well, I guess what they say must be true, so we should just go along with it." And that's what the people hope for that plan all this stuff,
People
right?
tend to believe whoever the loudest, most aggressive person is. That's what I've come to find out.
Correct.
And most of us
Correct.
aren't built to be the drama queen, right? We're just like trying
No.
to figure out the legal path. That's what most of us care about. So March 24th or May 24th, they declare themselves we're in power. May 25th, like I get a phone call that I have recorded. Again, it's on the social media, um, informing me that like the new board president has gone to the bank, froze the bank accounts. And I'm like,
Mm,
why would you go to like you're not even a signatory? That's bank fraud, right?
weird.
But again, I'm pinned in this sort of situation of like I write a memorandum, which everything that a public official does is open record, right? So like this is part of the court record at this point. But I write a memorandum to the attorney. I'm like, I'm looking for legal guidance. Who is the board? Because without a clear decision on that, like the operational security of the department is in danger. Like,
Sure.
and it could affect our operations. And talk about foreshadowing, brother. So the bank fraud thing happens. I get notified, like, we froze the bank accounts. We're in power. Court evidence has now shown that they viewed who controlled the finances as the de facto. And so they just went to the bank. We're like, we're the ones elected. Um, we're in power. So we're telling the bank to freeze those accounts of the district. And the bank was like, that doesn't align. We have a legal department too that, like, something's
Right.
going on. So they hard
Yeah.
froze the account. Well, this just parlays into this huge situation. So by June 6th, one of the bills that couldn't get paid because the bank account was frozen was the insurance renewal.
Oh,
Liability, all these things
how
were
convenient.
yeah. So on June 6th, oh, let me back up. June 5th, one of the board members files a pro se response to that court injunction, right? Which is still playing along. And again, the incumbent board was like, we're just going to sit back and let the court process happen. Well, if you're being corrupt, you're going to use that space of time to not sit back and be patient. You're going to take all these things to, like, pump up your ego and say, like, we're the ones, right? You're going to try to present that. So these people are under criminal investigation. The bank accounts are frozen. There's a court injunction. All this stuff is building pressure on these people. So he files it. His pro se response attacks me directly. Like, he emails it to me. I respond back. I'm not a party to what's going on with the board election stuff. Like, please
Mhm.
don't send this to me. Oh, you need to read it because I've implicated you for felonies and asked the court to charge you. And I was like, okay,
Oh,
you've got
yeah.
my interest. Let's look at it.
Yeah.
So he attacks me, and what he attacks me for is the footage directly. Um, and so of course, let's just, like, whatever. I invoke my indemnification clause with the board. Um, so June 6th comes, right? They're supposed to have a meeting to vote on my job duties and responsibilities is the agenda item. Of
Mhm.
course, I was like, you're not allowed to change my contract without me as one of the parties entering into that agreement. So I
Correct.
don't enter into that. Well, insurance debacle happens where the insurance calls and says, we didn't get paid. You're in danger of being canceled. They react by calling me and saying, shut down the fire district, right?
Shut down the fire district.
when
This is
when
what
a
these
fire
people
district
do.
shuts down, it's pretty public.
Yeah.
So I'm like, are you? I'm pissed, man. Like, it wasn't a good conversation, um, and I was just like, this is absurd. And there's a lot of emails back and forth in, like, this hour span of time where I'm like, I need the attorney. I need to speak to the attorney who they have cut me off from communicating with,
Mhm.
in their seizure of power, right? Um, and basically, like, fast forward, man, like 15 days later, I'm fired as the fire chief because the insurance bill didn't get paid.
Which has nothing to do with you.
Right. So the bylaws and policies of the department where my authorized spending limit was $5,000. Anything in excess of $5,000 had to be approved by the board in an open public meeting or the budget. And any checks that were signed had to be signed by two board members. I was never a signatory, right? Um, Although I sent him the invoice prior to the due date on June 1st, he didn't pay it, froze the bank accounts, and basically on June 22nd, 2023, they blame me for not violating policies, bylaws, banking authorizations, making a $23,000 payment to renew an insurance policy, right? That
Right.
was their causation. And so I'm jobless all of a sudden. What is the real reason that you'd probably fire somebody, though, Adam? Given the circumstances, let me test you on this one.
I mean, it's failure to do your job, right? I mean, like that's why you would fire somebody is like because you didn't do your job, or you did something that put somebody else in harm, or you failed to uphold the duties of your contract as specified, right? But
No,
at least,
yeah.
at least what you've described to me in this conversation is that you didn't choose not to pay the insurance. You couldn't do anything about it because other people froze the bank accounts and then forced you into that situation where they're trying to make you seem like
Well,
you're liable for it, which
yeah,
has
even
nothing to
if
do
you
with you.
took if you took the bank account situation out of it, it would have been illegal for me because like, I'm not a signatory in the bank, and my authorization is not twenty three
Right.
thousand dollars. It's five.
Right.
So even in the normal practice, but what you can't do is say, well, you're the star witness in a criminal investigation against us, and as the one that turned over evidence. You're not allowed to publicly say that, right?
No.
So we know the real reason why I was fired because I had been a star employee, if you will, like not ego driven statement. Like I turned the department from 4 to 5 responders with 18-minute response times to 60 in 7 minutes, new equipment, you know, new staffing model.
Sure.
Every metric that you could come up with was improved.
Hmm.
I'd never once in my entire career been written up. I never had a performance deficiency when I was in that position. And to turn around, between May 24th and June 22nd and be fired for something outside of my control makes no sense. Um, but the reality, man, and the consequences that I sat on the edge of my bed that night and said, "Are you ready for them?" Man, I was in them. I was right there. Okay, and so the only thing I can do is get an attorney and
Yep.
file a lawsuit. And that has consumed the last 3 years of my life,
It's awesome,
which
isn't it?
yeah, it's great. And just for everybody out there, one of the guys that joined me in the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals in person was this guy right here, Adam. It was a
Had to go
great.
back to my guy. Had to go back to my old stomping grounds. And I don't. Did I ever tell you the story of like my experience in 10th District Court of Appeals? Like at the staircase right there.
Yeah, when
Eh,
we had breakfast, he told me all about it. It's got me all hyped up before we walked in there.
Yeah, my lawyer during that time was amazing. And to be clear, like we didn't lose the case. They just dismissed it without prejudice, put it back to the executive branch, which I ended up winning in another appeal and whatever. That's how I
Yeah.
got my commission back. But like my attorney literally stood in that courtroom with the 10th District Court of Appeals with the it was different
Don't name
judges,
a judge,
obviously.
please, because
Yeah, no, it was different. It was at the time it was Chief Justice Bremer. He's no longer the Chief Justice of the 10th District Court of Appeals. He's now just a regular judge in the federal system or whatever. And it's funny because the Attorney General's office, who we were fighting against for the going against the Air Force, one of them is now also a judge in the federal. So they're all in on it, right? Yeah, it's wild. Susan Prose, she's now one of the judges in the 10th District Court now, and my attorney pretty much stands there, knowing that all they had to do was tell the Air Force, "Hey, you owe this kid his money back and everything else," and they refused to make a decision because they said. Under Parker versus Levy, the military is a separate society and should be treated as such, and therefore we cannot tell the military what to do, even though your constitutional rights are violated. And he says, go fuck your own face. He said that to the judge, the entire judge panel, and they were just like, you see the stenographer just stop? Like, are you sure you want us
Adam, I'm not
to
gonna
put this in
laugh
the
because
record?
I'm in that court right now. Okay, I'm still there. I
No, it's
can't
it's it's,
laugh.
it's nothing to that. But and then they were just like, I'm sorry, what did you say, Mr. Greif? He's like, no, I just wanted to reiterate that. And then he gets an email back like the next day. We understand, like, it was a really contentious case, and there was a lot of emotions going on. We just want to clarify. Do you officially want to make a statement for the record to make sure that it's corrected? He's like, yeah, I'll correct the record. He puts it all in capital letters in his email in like 18-point font. Like, go F your own face. And I was just like, and now he is now the Juris Doctor professor at Purdue University. You know what I mean? Like he's a rock star lawyer. Love that guy. But yeah, I mean it's interesting because I even observed your court case, and I thought you guys did a great job. I mean, I thought the town had a very poor argument. I didn't think they, but it's also amazing that you spend years doing this stuff, years in
Right.
the court system, and it's like 5 minutes. It's like 5 minutes at the Court of Appeals, like
Your
at the
whole
second
life.
highest level next to the Supreme Court, and you get like 5 minutes, right? It's wild the
Yeah.
amount of turmoil that and pain that these people have caused you and your family and everything else, and then you get like 5 minutes in front of the second highest court in the country.
Y-
So
Yeah, we probably should build that for the audience, man. So, I mean, yeah, we are approaching in a few weeks the 3 year anniversary, right?
yeah,
I filed a lawsuit July after like 2 weeks after I get fired, right? Um, and it takes so long. I have yet to
so
get
long.
past procedure. Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm super naive to this. I filed. I'm like, cool. My attorney's like, what do you want out of all this? I'm like, my job back and to go back to my life. Like that's it.
weird.
Yeah. Uh, And he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll get that." And so I had to understand, like, it was going to be a quick thing. Like, you can't fire somebody that your own policies and bylaws say you can't do to the guy, right?
Hmm.
Um, and man, I couldn't have been more wrong. So, like, literally, they answer, they file a motion to dismiss immediately. You go back and forth. Initially, there was three things. The federal court decided, like, we don't have jurisdiction over the wrongful termination. That's a state court issue. There was a
Right.
EEOC violation where one of my employees had been medically harassed by one of the board members, and I had filed a complaint as the supervisor, as I'm required by law to do, to protect that employee and not be liable for the problem as the supervisor. So I do that. That was claimed to. They dismissed that because there wasn't an outcome. So dismissed without prejudice um, on both of those. And the one remaining was First Amendment retaliation.
Right.
Go through discovery, um, and immediately, like, they file summary judgment, right? And my attorneys were like, "There's no way. This is not." It very loose facts of things and record citations and all that is the only way they can sort of manipulate this. 9 months of silence, waiting. Meanwhile, I hadn't, like, it took me over a year to find a new job. I was living in a 3,200 square foot log home on
Hmm.
8 acres of land. Like, I
Hmm.
had worked hard in my life in Colorado
Yeah.
to, like, no income. I'm living, well, 2023, like, the propane tank runs dry. My kids and I are living in a home with no heat and 10,000 feet of elevation in the Colorado mountains, right? Some rough times. Well, that I just couldn't do to my kids. I moved them back to California and I'm living in my stepdad's camper in his backyard, right? Like,
Hmm.
life has completely come off. So I finally find a new job. Um, and we're waiting and waiting, waiting. 9 months after they file summary judgment, finally, one day, the judge rules. And the judge rules that by assuming a whole lot of facts, right? So the legal standard is I'm the non movement trying to have it dismissed, right? So I'm not the one that files the motion.
Right.
Everything has to be, because there's gaps in evidence, right?
Hmm.
Especially early on in litigation. Everything has to be resolved in my favor. That's the most fair thing, right? That's why courts are set up the way they are. Fills a lot of gaps in their favor and grants summary judgment dismissing my case. And I'm like, man, my life has fallen apart for this. Like, I don't believe in anything anymore,
Yeah.
this and that. And a very pivotal moment in life. Like, I have very loyal friends, man. And I'm just in despair. Like, I have this dinner with my kids and girlfriend where, like, I lose hearing, like, post IED blast, man, where you just everything is like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I'm just watching them and, like, the the consequences of life and the despair of having my case dismissed, which I thought was very unfairly,
Sure.
and the attorney that I had paid over $100,000 out of pocket when I had no job.
You and I are in the
Um,
same position, dude. You and I were in the same position.
Yeah, he's the one. He calls me. He's like, the judge ruled against you. Your case is dismissed. I think you can win on appeal. I'm like, he's like, do you want to appeal? I'm like, I don't have another choice.
You don't
Yes.
have
And he's
another
like,
choice. Yeah.
yeah. He's like, okay, well, you got to pay me $50,000 and I'll file it. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
live in a camper, bro.
Like,
Like,
what do you want me to do?
yeah. And he's like, well, all right, it's over then. And
But
I'm
this is
like,
this is how they do it though, Eric. Is that like I spent $250,000 in my court case over 15 years, right? And it's
yo,
still not 100% resolved yet. Like I got some of it back, and I've been vindicated. But like all that money and
right,
even my degree back from the academy, like they still haven't given it back to me, even though like I won the argument for that. Like it's nuts, and it's just like
never
well,
ending, man. Like,
you poors, the poors can't afford the system, so therefore, we shall stand above you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because even if you're right, even if you're moral, even if you're ethical, even if you're doing the right thing, if you can't afford it, you're not going to get it, and the people who
yeah,
control the system will continue to keep you down. And that's like the hardest part about this is like you as a public servant and trying to be a single dad and raising your kids and doing all the right things. Like you didn't do anything immoral or unethically wrong to deserve this. You're just trying to fix a broken system over A tiny small mountain town in Colorado that nobody even cares about or could point to on a map. But because the people that control that power in that political system, even in a small town like that, are willing to destroy your entire life over this when you've done nothing but serve your country. Like, it's crazy to
Yeah.
me. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, one of them is an army veteran too. Like you just lose moral fabric in tribalism, man. And
Hmm.
in this situation, man, like I'm their enemy and they'll do anything to destroy me. But luckily I'm just built with some resolve. But literally, like I'm watching my girls like laughing and joking at dinner, and like teen girls are loud. Um, I can't hear a thing. It's like post blast ID. It's just the world around you is in a straw,
Hmm.
and like my head was spinning. And I just looked at them. I was like, "There's no effing way these girls will see me quit something." Like whatever, I don't know what to do. I've never read a court document before, but like I'm not quitting.
Don't quit.
Uh,
That's what I
and
tell
like
people.
literally, I say that in that internal voice, and like I can hear it again, man.
Hmm.
And like this justice for Holt was like instantly born in that moment, even though I didn't know it. But I got up, cleared my plate, went in my room, and just started reading.
Yep.
In an obsessive compulsive manner,
Hmm.
like up every night till 3 4 a.m. just reading on my phone, figuring it out. And like the other part of lawfare, man, is from decision until like you have an appeal is 30 days, and if you don't file it in that time, it's over, it's done.
Right.
And so I, a non-attorney who has spent his life in firefighting, have to figure out within, now we're like 14 days in, man. I have 2 weeks to figure out how to file an appeal, which
Hmm.
luckily is like a one paper thing that says like I appeal this. And then you get some time and you got to develop your briefs. But the my entire life got taken over by how
Yeah.
do I do this? And my buddy Fregosa, man, owns like this media company, and I'm just talking to him one day. I'm like, hey man, like I don't even know what to do. I want to quit and all this. And he's like, no, man, I'm gonna start you a Facebook page today, which was the first one, probably,
Hmm.
and it has become the biggest. But uh, he's like, I'm just gonna start one for you, and I want you to like just tell your story. I'm like, I've never made a video. I'm like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? Like, if you go to Justice for Hold on Facebook, man, my early videos, I mean, it's like stupidly walking around my backyard telling
Yeah.
this story 10 minutes at a time. Um, and then like literally the bombshells started dropping that I was finding in my case, man. I filed my brief, and like court records, especially federal ones, are pretty thick, man. And
Yeah.
a lot's left out. So there's thousands of documents, probably tens of thousands of documents total. In
Hmm.
this 2 week span time I have to go through. So I'm cramming. And one night I wake up out of a dead sleep and I'm like, no way. No way, this can't be. So I like write a note down on my phone and I go back to sleep. I remember that criminal investigation I mentioned.
Yeah.
Very like I had talked to these guys several times. And one of the contentions I have in the 10th Circuit, which we'll get back to, is how they framed my interaction.
Right.
Um, but I like was going through all of the supplements and all the stuff, and like I couldn't figure out on August 1st, after like talking to them a week before, they're like, this is brazen, like we got you. On August 1st, after I'm fired, suddenly and miraculously, like it's ended. No file, no criminal charges, no nothing. And I could never figure that out. And this is 2 years later. Like when you're trapped in the like the chaos of what's going on, you just
Hmm.
have to pick things to focus your energy on, and things that you can't change, you just have to shed. Well, the criminal investigation outcome was one of the things I just had to shed, man. Like I got a call that said we're ending this, nobody's being charged, it's a done deal. And as hard as that was to accept, I had the federal lawsuit to figure out, and I had to look for a job and take care of my kids, man. So I never could figure out why until I was doing my appellate brief. And the thing that shot me up in the middle of my sleep was in two separate documents in completely different realms of the court records were two names that my brain connected in my sleep because they were spelled the same. One of them being the name of the law firm that I am litigating against.
Hmm.
Um, and the other was the guy that stepped in to end the criminal. He appears in the investigative record one time, and
Interesting.
it's under the authority on August 1st, 2023, to no file and drop the criminal investigation. And it just so happened that they shared the last name, the law firm and the guy with the authority to end the criminal investigation. And I was like, okay. So I call a private investigator and I send him the two names. I said, I need, I'll pay you to let me know if these people are connected. And he comes back that it's father and son. So I file a federal
How
lawsuit.
convenient.
Yeah, I file a federal lawsuit. The district gets served 2 weeks later. They hire a law firm to defend them, right? This is all traceable on the calendar of time because
Yeah.
it's court dates. So within 3 days of hiring the attorney law firm, the son goes in and makes this criminal investigation that's caught on high definition video with audio and all of the statements that I mentioned prior to this, and makes the criminal investigation go away for the dad's clients. Isn't that convenient?
Wow. It's so convenient.
It's very convenient. Um, that was a bummer. So that's like right when I started telling everything. And so I was getting through the story on the Justice for Holt, like crude videos. And Joe Oldman had me on his show. He was like the first. Actually, I was on the Tina Peters show with Yehuda Miller, and then I went
Hmm.
on to Joe's, and I was telling this stuff, and I hadn't hit that point yet in the timeline, but Joe
Right.
had kind of connected me to some lawyers, and so long story short, man, obsessively filed an appellate brief and a reply to their answer brief. These are the things that, and that's it. Once it's submitted, it's um, I was fortunate enough to be awarded oral arguments, right? Like, not everybody gets an oral argument.
Nope.
Um, in the process, Joe had connected me to an attorney who knew another attorney. That attorney happened to work at Mountain State Legal Foundation. Um, and I had a conversation with them. They looked over my brief. So, like, you have a really strong argument, man. And they asked me some specifics and if I could prove it. Went through that, and they're like, yeah, we're going to take you on. And so they were there to do my oral arguments once we were awarded them, right? So
Right.
fast forward, like March 17th of this last year
Hmm.
with Adam here, like we sat in that courtroom and they argued my case. And uh, without leading into this, I will say, Adam, I think that the district and their attorney just fell flat on their face, and
I would
they
agree.
couldn't defend anything.
No.
Um, but man, it was tense. And like you and I met outside that courtroom, and I mean, I was probably ghost white. Like, I thought there were so many points in there. There was one point where they went back and forth on whether I personally paid to recover the footage.
Yeah.
And I was like, it is in the record and I can point to it, but I'm not allowed to speak in there, right? And so
Right.
that was a hard moment. I thought, oh no, that could be the difference. But remember, I told you how they framed it. The district was successful in lying their ass off that I had one interaction with a DA. And that interaction was, here's the footage. And they asked me 2 or 3 questions, and that was it. When the record shows that I worked very closely as the star witness for over a month and a half in every supplement that's documented, right? But conveniently, like, they never included that into the evidence in the record, right? So,
Right.
uh, long story short, man, I really think uh, we are on the eve of an appellate victory to reverse and remand on Garcetti prong one, whether it was an official duty of mine as a fire chief to investigate election fraud. I don't know how anybody in their right mind can associate being a criminal investigator into election fraud with a fire chief's duties and responsibilities.
Hmm.
But that's the argument in court right now. And if I'm
Yeah.
successful on that, we go back to the district court to address the other four prongs, 4 and 5, basically, of Garcetti Pickering,
Right.
um, which would be, I have to prove that they knew of the criminal investigation and that I cooperated with it, and that they couldn't have taken the same course of action in firing me, regardless. And like, those are so easy, man. I have this other state case that I'm fighting pro se where I defeated uh, a lot of their privilege. And so I have all of the documents now, all but 3 that they're holding on to after being sanctioned.
Hmm.
Um, So we'll get those. But like it's
And
very cut and
here's the
dry.
hard part that a lot of people don't understand, which you've kind of explained throughout the story, is that like, my story's a 15-year case. Your story is also like 6 years, right? And the thing is that behind all of the convoluted arguments and details and everything else, by the time you get to the top of the food chain with the court system, it's like a 3 sentence argument,
Yep.
and it's like just changing that one thing to show a violation of like like I don't think you ever thought in your lifetime when you were first interacting with the things that you saw before you even filed the lawsuit that this would end up being a First Amendment case argument at the 10th District
Oh,
Court of Appeals. Like, and
oh,
for me, it was a similar violation. It was, I think it was like a Fourth Amendment right or something. I forget exactly what my lawyer framed it as,
due
but it was
process.
like, yeah, due process, because it was just like, does the military have the authority with its employees to falsify mental health records in retaliation of reporting sexual assault and harassment? Like, that's after all that. That was the argument, was can military officials and civilian DoD officials change records at will in retaliation? And like normal common sense American, like you can go down the street and ask anybody, and do you think this should be illegal? And they'd be like, yeah, that's common sense. But the fact is, you have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get all the way to the top to make that a law or make that a change or recognize that your constitutional rights are violated. And like I said, this is what dissuades so many Americans for fighting these things, because it destroys your entire life just to get to
Yeah.
that point. You've been slandered, you've been libeled, I mean, you've been living in a camper, you're still trying to support a family. I mean, like, I've gone through the same things. It cost me like a marriage, it cost me over a
Yeah.
decade of my life. I mean, you saw what happened to me during the election. Like, these people, and the only reason, to be fair, the reason I ran for Congress was because I tried to do all the right things, went through court, tried to get my members of Congress to change the law to stop this from ever happening again, and they refused to do it. And even to this day, they won't do it because of all the political fallout that would come from it. And it's like, so you become the scapegoat. They
Yeah.
will. It's easier to destroy you, Eric, or me, than it is to
Right.
do the right thing. And keep in mind, this was the lowest level county level election. Like, this wasn't even like statewide or
On
countywide.
Yeah,
You know what
with
I mean?
undisputed evidence. Like it's
With
on video.
with
Yeah.
undisputable evidence, right? And this is why I tell Americans, man, it is so important for you to get involved at the local level, because like we just need more moral and ethical people to prevent this from ever happening again. Like, and I'm sure you can list on your hands as well. Here's a
Yeah.
handful of good men and women that if I said, "Hey, can you go make decisions for the town?" Like they would
Of
just
course.
do it easily because they're not idiots. But we keep
Yeah.
allowing the best of the worst to get into these positions, and then Americans like you are spending your entire life fighting for the most easiest of moral and ethical arguments to defend yourself.
Yeah, I think we are very close to that. I think we may differ on the importance of that one piece of like so mine is a First Amendment retaliation. The First Amendment has literally been around for 250 years, right?
Yep.
Um like it's pretty well defined what it is,
Hmm.
except nuance. And by design, courts are very protective of case law and
Sure.
precedents, right?
Yep.
And so like I respect and believe me, this is something I didn't when I lost my case in the summary judgment phase. But the stakes are so like defining around one particular thing and they're so structured for fair impartiality that like I the more I've gone through it, the more I do believe in that because like the details are so granular that my case is now down to kind of a question, right? Like if you lose appeal, you have one more chance at the Supreme Court, and you're only allowed to ask a question, and they look at that
Yes.
question and whether they'll take it. And so mine literally boils down to eh, I'll make it more granular than it actually is, but like is a fire chief um protected by the First Amendment if they cooperate against their employer for election? Right? And most people would be like, well, yeah, you should be protected, right?
You should be.
But and like the courts are so restricted, man. I literally since I lost my case, right? You are locked into the record in front of the judge that made that decision. Even though I have so much more evidence. I literally have a piece of paper that is an email from board members that fired me to the attorney that they thought they were protected under attorney client privilege that says here's a list of things we want to fire Erik for. And the video footage is listed in there. And they say, well, we don't think we can make that one stick. So let's go with the insurance thing. Like
Right.
it's spelled out, but I wasn't allowed to bring that into court.
Hmm.
And that, although it's frustrating, I understand why. I'm going to win this. Like, because victims go quiet, people like me that just are too fucking stupid to know when to quit, uh, are
Yeah.
gonna, you push this through. But like, I've talked to some people that, I've talked to Joe Kennedy, who was the football coach that was praying on the field in Florida,
Hmm.
got fired, ended up winning the Supreme Court case. And like, nobody knows the map to it, but he's like, I had these people that just supported me and took my case, and they fought, and we lost 3 4 times, and then finally the Supreme Court heard it, and it's, now it's Supreme Court precedents. And I was like, okay, even that little bit of detail means like you can never give up.
Right.
I was not paid to be an election fraud investigator. I
No.
think everybody in the world can understand that. And I have to show the court and separate what is an official duty further from what the current precedence is. Because
Hmm.
if it's allowed to happen to me, an average Joe dude who had no desires to get involved in politics, wanted to live a quiet mountain life, being a fire chief. If I can get thrown into this, and literally anybody out there can.
I would 100% agree with you. Yep, I
Yeah.
100% agree with you. Is that when you start trying to break the system of the people that have controlled all levels of government for a long period of time, 10, 20, 30 years, they will
Mhm.
do whatever they can and grasp at as many straws as they can to stop you from doing that. And this is what prevents people from wanting to run for office. This is what prevents people from getting involved because the best of the worst control it. And they know, just like we have some of these actors going on right now in Colorado, which we discussed before the podcast. There's like a
Mhm.
set group of people who their only objective is to destroy your life, your credibility, and everything else to ensure that you do not change a system that they benefit from. Right? I mean,
Right.
and it's really unfortunate because, like you said, dude, if it was up to me, I'd just be like flying airplanes and living on my farm and not talking to anybody and just living my life as an everyday
Uh,
American, right? But I can. I had to go get a job in the oil field to afford the lawyer's fees to go to DC and advocate for myself and then just get destroyed on the internet
mhm.
nonstop with the craziest rumors and lies that are being told about you. And like the same thing happened to you, right? They'll just come after you and just make you homeless. They will make you
Oh yeah.
homeless if they can because it'll shut you up and you will stop talking and they're gonna try to hold you down and shave your mustache if they can. Like what I mean? Like
And
that's
nobody
how
can
these.
do this thing.
Yeah. I will fight like a bear.
But they still
But
do it. I mean, I'm still
they
literally
still do it.
called a liar. They will probably come on your comment and call me a liar, even though I can like my whole platform has been based on here's the footage, unaltered. Here you go. Put it out there. Tell the story. I tell my first person view, and of course they want me to be a liar, right? But
Yeah.
it's backed by the visual evidence, the documents, all the stuff. Like when I lost my court case, I thought I was done. And so I just started showing it to the world. It just gave me a platform now, man. Like, my Facebook, I got over like 12,500 followers on Justice for Hope. Like just little old average American, man. Millions of views on my interviews and the evidence and all that
Hmm.
stuff because it does resonate with everyday people. And who the hell am I to like say that my country that I inherited under the greatest system ever established in the Constitution, like I'm too chicken shit to defend it? Like
I feel you, man.
Holt versus Fluorescent Fire here in a few months, I expect to be a published opinion repealing and reversing this district court decision, which, i.e., a published opinion, is case law. Holt versus Fluorescent Fire Protection District will be cited to protect other Americans.
And
That's
it
how
should be.
we, yeah, I mean, like, and there's no guarantees, man. Like, you have to speak positively and confidently.
Hmm.
We are in the period of time, man. It's been 47 days since I sat there and listened to not even be able to argue my own case.
Yeah.
Um, and now we're just waiting, and it could be 3 to 9 months, But when that decision
Yep.
comes, it can literally be new case law,
Hmm.
and the 10th Circuit cited to protect other people. And like, if you don't understand being a patriot and being an American means doing that, like I can't sell it to anybody out there. That's what it is, even when it sucks. Because you know what, like. Paul Revere was going to get murdered if they caught him, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I'm in a kind of semi-similar situation. Like I went to the same court, 10th District Court of Appeals. They came back dismissed without prejudice, which means I'm allowed to file again. But in order to
Hmm.
file again, I had to administer new evidence. But before I could administer that new evidence, I had to go back to the Air Force Board of Corrections and Military Records, which is still pending for the seventh time again. And then I had to talk to the Pentagon last week with the Inspector General of the entire Pentagon about this, about how even the Air Force Board of Corrections refuses to decide on this case because they know they have to decide in my favor. Are
Right.
they or not? Because they know if they don't, then they're going to go back to court. But if they
Right.
do, then I just go on my merry way, which is all I want. I got it's like,
Right.
guys, just let it go. But they will never admit wrongdoing, right? Just like those
So,
officials that are going after you are never going to admit wrongdoing, and then it's like, oh, then you have to find $2 million to go to the Supreme Court and then argue it again. And it's just like, but like I said, people like you and me, we're just too dumb to quit, I guess, because
yeah.
like
Well,
it's
it's your responsibility, man. I mean,
it
like,
is your responsibility, 100%.
yeah.
Because it was my entire argument when I decided on if you don't do this, Eric, who's going to?
Well, exactly. And like,
No
nobody
one.
has, like, what an opportunity, man. Like, again, like,
Yeah,
I don't have a victim mindset, but what an opportunity in life to just be an average American and literally be able to defend a 250-year-old constitution, which is the fabric of what we do. And
yeah.
all I am is one detail point within a subsect of the First Amendment. But it is my patriotic duty to like put myself in that and find that way. I may not win, Adam, but I
You
put
might
up the
not.
fight. I put up the fight, and I'm very confident, right?
Yeah.
But and that is real. I've gone and dissected this. I've been obsessed with this appeal for the last year and some
Hmm.
change. Like I know every detail way better than they ever could try. Um, and I have applied that in every lens that you can. There's just no way to say that election fraud investigation is a fire chief's job. There's just no way to do that, and that's why I'm confident in it.
Yeah.
But to the point, man, like I'm a dad. I have to set that example for my two daughters,
Hmm.
who I want to raise to be patriotic Americans. And so if I'm too much of a chump to like do my part as a citizen, like kick me out of this country, man. Like send me somewhere else. There's a
Yeah.
reason that the flag is the logo here, right? Like,
Right.
um, and I've been lucky, man. I built a movement. I would like to say, like, I have tons of supporters, as do you.
Yeah.
I'm on your show, brother. You were there with me in court.
Yeah. And I
Every
would
time you tell the story.
and I would do it again because the thing is like no one else is going to do this except us. Who will go send me? If not me, then who? Right? It's just like we are the positive things have changed. You know what I mean? Like, and the thing is, no, there's not a lot of Americans who are willing to do this, and you've seen it. Like, you see the crosstalk in these Colorado chats that we're both involved in, and like there are people in this state that will burn your house down if you go against the status quo. And they will do whatever they can to destroy your name, destroy your legacy, and everything you spent decades of your life serving your country. And you're a good, honest man. But it doesn't matter because you're pissing in their Cheerios.
Right, yeah, you're gonna run against Gabe, right? Like Gabe's our
Yeah.
guy. He'll vote the way we want. That protects my
It's
life
not what his
and
voting
my.
record says, but God forbid you try to explain that to a bunch of boomers. And I'm like, no, he would never do that. I'm like, it's not. Do you know how to use Google? Like, it says it right here. He
Right.
voted not to criminalize the transgender surgeries of kids. Oh, he would never do that. I'm like, okay, like, got it.
Well, yeah, I watched the gatekeeping that happened with you and other friends running, man.
Yeah,
Like a part of, and you've seen me in those chats. Like, stop eating yourselves alive. And it
yeah,
happened with everyone I know. I'm so involved in Colorado politics that I can't even
I
fathom it,
know.
and I don't care to be involved in it.
I know, and it's just like, there was so many people who reached out to me afterwards, and they're like, "Hey, man, you need to move to this state and run here because you're a really good dude and you can make a lot of differences, but you're never going to get anywhere in Colorado because the people are just so stagnant." I mean, it's not to be mean, but most of them are a bunch of stagnant losers. Like they've never really actually done anything. They've never really done anything positive, but this is where they fit into society because it's just like it's a melting pot of just like liquid shit all the time, and that's why really good Americans in because I know plenty of amazing guys in Colorado that like they're just not involved in politics or involved in anything in the public sphere because like I don't have time for this. But then I sit there and just go, but if you don't do it, we're going to be left with the best of the worst. And it's just like, I was so convinced. I'm like, man, I could just transfer to a different job and like leave state and do that. And like, I've thought about it a lot. But then again, I gotta go like, I've been out here for 20 years though. Like, do I really want to give up and give it to these people and give them what they want? Because that's what they want. They want you to go away, Eric. They want you to quit. They want you to stay away and stop, stirring the pot. But like, I don't know, man. I think it's like a moral, ethical responsibility. When you and I rose our right hand to swear and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, I will tell you, and I've told this on other podcasts before, and people do not like this answer. I respected the guys in ISIS more sometimes than I respect the guys, as some Americans I've had to fight for, because at least I knew what they were fighting for. They stood on their principles. They pointed their guns in our direction and they pulled the trigger. Now they lost because we were way better than them. And
Yeah,
but
fire
and
superiority. Yeah.
in my opinion, at least you died being an honorable person and sticking up for what you stand for. But some
Yeah.
of the people that I have fought in politics and in the legal cases, same thing you do, they are some of the worst people I've ever had to deal with in my life.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, there'll
watching
be people
Americans,
pissed that you say you respect ISIS fighters more than you do. Yeah, and like,
all enemies, foreign and domestic.
yeah,
And
you
I've
gotta
fought
have an
more.
intimate understanding of that. But
Yeah,
like,
but
it's
it's
a
like
true statement.
I have fought more domestic enemies since getting involved in politics that I have no respect for at all than I ever did fighting the enemies of the United States abroad. You know what I mean? And it's a
Because it was
bold
simple.
statement to make, but it's
Yeah,
it's true though.
yeah.
Meet
It's
me
a
in the street. Let's go hand to hand combat. I'll shoot you right in the face. Whoever wins wins, right? But like some of these
uh,
people, they will take away your ability to pay your mortgage. They will slander and libel you over the internet. They'll make fake Facebook accounts and they'll come after this. They'll spread rumors that you did all these crazy things like they did for me, and then like they will ruin. I never had an ISIS guy do that to me.
no, I'll just
You know
try to
what I
shoot
mean?
you.
Like
And, yeah.
it's is what it is.
Yeah, it is quite sickening. And like, if there's, yeah, I mean, you know where I stand with Joe, man. He's the one guy I think can change it because his
Yeah.
bold personality, and he's a tried and true like brother's keeper. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like, man, if they eat him alive and like, blockade him, then like, what? I'm
And here's
with
the
you.
thing too,
Like, at
like
some point,
Joe stood up for me during my case too. He brought me on his podcast. We talked about it, and
yeah,
I respect him a lot. He's a good friend outside of politics for that. But and I want him in a lot of aspects to take a lot of that experience that he's had and to win the Colorado GOP chairman position in order to revamp everything. But the biggest problem I've seen that's happened literally in the last like 7 days is that he's surrounding himself with the people that have destroyed the party and have tried to destroy my life, or some of the same people that were involved in the political background for you. And it's like, don't be naive to the intents of these people, because this is the thing I'm going to say. It's going to piss a lot of people off. Without the Colorado GOP, and this is a very Colorado specific thing, it could apply to other states. The people that are really involved in the political sphere out here, without the GOP, they would contribute nothing to society. They weren't firefighters. They didn't serve in the military. They're not raising families. They're unemployed, or they're divorced, or they're just people who've done nothing in their lives to make other people's lives better. So they grasp at straws in this organization because they have to have their 6:30 a.m. pancake breakfast on a Wednesday at a Denny's, where people like you and me can't even go to these things because we have to work and do our jobs. But in reality, they're the ones that control all of our lives because they're
mhm.
figuring out who goes on the ballot and what taxes are going to get passed and who's going to be running for office. They're the ones making the decisions. And when people like you and me, throw a hand grenade into that pot to try to change that system, so things like that happen to you or happen to me don't happen to anybody else, they don't like that. They've been
Oh
doing this
yeah,
for
and it's
20, 30 years and they do not like that. So they'll attach themselves to people like Joe Altman in order to ensure that they can ride on his coattails so they can continue to assume power in these positions. And it's just something I warned Joe about last week. I'm like, Joe, there are people that are working against you. They're not your friends. And they are only using you to get into this position. And you have all the good intentions to do all the right things. But if you allow the same people that have caused all these issues to continue to control things, it's not going to work out well.
Yeah, I mean, like, I respect Joe. I think he's a highly intelligent dude. So,
Yep.
I got to leave it to him to navigate that stuff. I'm just a huge supporter of him
Yeah.
because, again, he's a brother, man. He's
I
had
said the same
my
thing.
back
I was
since
just like,
day one.
Joe, it's up to you. I know you're not a dumb man. You're a smart guy, but just be
Yeah.
careful of who you're making company with because there's snakes out there.
Well,
So
I will say, like, in that group, man, like, I don't know how many times I've gotten in there where it's just out of frustration. I'm not like a real vocal person, man.
no,
Um, Especially Colorado politics, but like, I'm like, hey, get along, quit eating ourselves, quit gatekeeping, good candidates.
yeah, they
Right
don't
after
care.
the assembly, I was like, we just let really good candidates not get on ballots. Like,
Yep.
stop eating ourselves from within. And
Hmm.
like the attacks were personal. Like, what are you doing? Oh, I volunteered here. I did this. I did that. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, well, I'm defending, democracy and voter
voter
integrity,
integrity and all those other things. Yeah.
fighting with every dime that I have and every ounce of energy to protect the
Hmm.
Constitution within the state.
Hmm.
I think I'm doing my part, but like it's viewed as, what is this self-serving sort of, what have you done to help me promote me? Nothing. And there's some very inspirational Colorado Republican. Like Hope
Sure.
was a great man, and like unfortunately
Love
she,
Hope. She's a good friend of mine.
yeah, I've never met her, but like her story's great. um, she was very positive yesterday in there, right? And when people are like trying to leak only the real bad, ugly, because you get back and forth, like
That's what
very
they do.
selectively screenshotting and posting on Facebook under a pseudonym, and I can see the
Hmm.
full context of it. But um, you were a great candidate, man. Like I couldn't have a more like salt of the earth friend that's ready for Congress. That like it's just being honest to who I know you are, and just being just smeared for it. Like gatekeeping, each your own. No wonder the party
Yeah.
in Colorado is like the Democrats have a super majority because they just
They
sit
don't have
back
to
and look.
try. They don't even have to fight us. The Republicans do it to themselves. Like, and I know the whole situation that went on with Hope. I talked to her directly about it after her 3 hour conversation with Trump, and I was just like, there are Republicans in the state of Colorado who are willing to destroy the
Mhm.
national voting majority advantage in order for own personal gain, versus realizing maybe I'm not the best person. I should step aside and let another American patriot take over for me, which is the entire intention of representation, but they won't. So they decide to go, well, basically, if you don't drop your endorsement for this person and give it back to me, then I'm going to vote to impeach you and vote against your entire agenda for the next 2 years, and you'll never have a successful presidency. And then obviously Trump's ego, he's not going to agree with that. So he's going to allow that to happen in the state of Colorado. But if, and this is what I tell people, because I was just at Mar-a-Lago 2 weeks ago, right? It was literally, they're going to let Colorado burn and eat its own at this point. And what they did was they backed up all the seats they're going to lose in Colorado and Florida and Texas with the redistricting court ruling that came through. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
like
like
it's
they'll
that.
solidify, like let's say worst case scenario, they lose 2 to 3 seats of Republicans in Colorado. It doesn't matter because we gained 6 over here, so we've already filled that gap.
Right. I
And the
mean, and I
problem is
understand the national party stuff. I mean, I
yeah,
do. The higher it gets, the less I associate with. I'll give you that. But
sure.
um, there is a reality, which you just said, man. It's like, why give our energy when we can do it here? But like people. This is one of the things Joe said when he announced he was running for governor in that like Facebook Live.
Hmm.
And I can't get it out of my head because it's so true. And
Hmm.
again, being a whistleblower for election violations, um, I have some introspective thoughts. But it's like nobody votes to raise crime and tax themselves more. Um,
No,
but look what's going on, man, in Colorado. Look at the Denver metro area, like a super majority of woke ideology. Look at the San Francisco Bay Area, right? Like
yep,
we have played out these social experiments, and like it's pretty easy to see what's going on. How do
they
they
don't
keep?
work.
Yeah, how does Newsom keep raising taxes? He doesn't. Nobody votes to take more money from me.
Yeah.
Nobody votes to like put criminals in out of prison in my neighborhood.
Well, I think it's like that South Park episode. Remember when Randy Marsh and he goes to the grocery store and he's like, "Would you like to donate an extra dollar to feed the starving kids in Somalia?" And he's like, "No, thank you." And he goes, "Okay, are you sure you don't want to do that? Okay, well, you just have to reach up next to the cardboard cutout of the Somalian child and remove the sandwich from its mouth in order to say no, and make sure everyone." They make an announcement in like Whole Foods, like, "Just letting us know that Randy Marsh is taking the sandwich out of the child's mouth, not to donate food to the poor kids in Somalia, to guilt trip him into." Basically raising his taxes and giving extra money, right? It's the same thing that goes on like in California. It goes on here. Like this whole Tabor argument too is like, if we don't take away Tabor and we don't give more money to the
Right.
government, then the kids aren't going to have healthy meals at school. Yet if you
Oh
actually
yeah.
read, if you read the legislation to that, it says We're going to take the money out of Tabor, but also all the money that we're taking out of Tabor to be used for healthy school meals cannot be audited, and we won't have to tell you where the money actually went. But
Yeah,
nobody,
this is the
but
new
nobody
game,
reads the
right?
law. Like nobody
California,
reads
they're
these
working on
laws.
the Stop Nick Shirley Act that it's
Oh,
illegal
it's
to
like, oh,
uncover
stop
fraud.
the guy from uncovering billions of dollars of fraud.
Right.
What?
Yeah, I mean, you can see a party's actual intent when you challenge where the money goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, like the what was it Denver mayor or Aurora just was like, oh, there's no gang controlled zones like a couple years ago. Actually,
Yeah,
let me forget
that,
that
yeah. It was
because like
Aurora. It was
they'll
Aurora.
lie. But like I remember moving to Colorado when Colorado, if they just passed the weed legalization, was going to be the richest state ever with the
Yep.
greatest roads, the greatest schools, blah blah. Blah. Under woke ideology, where did all that go?
Yeah.
Because they still
It's
need
and
Tabor.
it's non-auditable.
Yeah,
The money disappeared into the slush funds, which pretty much gets put back to NGOs, put back into the Democratic
back into
Party,
campaigns.
and then
Yeah,
the excuse was, well, we can't put the money into federal banks, so we have to put it into private banks that you don't have any access to the records to, and move these caravans of vehicles full of cash around, and we're just never going to tell you what happens to the money.
yeah. Oh,
And then people are
that
just like,
sounds
oh,
great.
and then people are just like, oh, you know what? That sounds fine. Let's just not ask any more questions.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like the government. So I did everything I was supposed to. I just got a letter in the mail. I have like retirement benefits, but I had an earnings cap.
Hmm.
I filed all my paperwork on time, correct, true, all of this stuff. And a year and some change later, they're like, "Oh, you earned $2,000 more than we're allowed. We're gonna retroactively take all this money back." I'm like, "Well, why is that my problem? Why do you want to, tens of thousands of dollars back that I am entitled, like as a retiree, to collect?"
Yeah,
And you made the like your process, it's just like, but God forbid I ask for my tax money on it, man. And like
I know.
and now it's racist to look at where my tax money goes to. Is this
Yeah,
South Park it was not a cartoon. It became
it's
like
the
what
reality.
reality
I mean,
actually is.
I started watching South Park in what 1997 when it came out, like when I was a kid, and then like I never understood the nuances of Colorado, and now that I've been out in Colorado for 20 years, every episode, like I've rewatched every episode probably 10 times, and I'm just like, oh, this is actually hilarious because this is actually how this state works. Like my one of my favorite episodes is when they were talking about like how the government makes financial decisions, and they go to like the IRS building and they walk in there, and it's four guys blowing on a kazoo, and they chop the chicken's head off, and it runs around the circle, and wherever the dead chicken lands, that's the government solution to the financial issue. And it just like
Right.
it's like and the chicken lands on bailout. Like bailout, the banks get another bailout. That is the decision, and that's what it seems like
Yeah.
happens in this
But
state
now, like through the
all the
Doge
time.
thing, we're finding out not only. I think this will be the triumph. I think of Trump's second term. I mean, there's a lot of them. I think coming, but I think the triumph is exposing the NGO stuff, man.
It's
Because
so bad. When I was overseas, man, I could tell, and you know too. You're just like,
you know,
how much money are we wasting on this? Like, what did you just say?
well, and like the no kings, man. Like right, like you see
Yet
how
they
well
applaud the king when he's here.
organized how well funded and well organized it was a week after the guy was elected, and you're
Yeah,
holding this first nationwide millions of people. Like,
of course
I'm
it's all
sorry,
created.
man, but you couldn't get America to sit down at a table if you put all 350 million of us and go, we're going to give you a raise on your salaries of $5. People would start to fight and be like, I think it should be six. Well, I think it should only be two. Fiscal, like
Hmm.
we inherently have built in like argumentative cells in our body, but nobody out there is voting to raise my taxes. Then wash my money so many times, tell me I'm racist for thinking I want to
That's right,
know
you
where
are.
it's going,
Yeah.
and then funding the counter revolution, if you will, right? To like everything in our best interest has this very well coordinated, well funded counter op.
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
And we
Where's
keep
that
trying to
coming
tell
from?
people about it, but like they don't want to believe that it's actually happening. I'm like, no, this is
Right.
happening. Like you're just making stuff up. It's not that complicated. I'm like, no, you're right. It's actually really simple, and you're falling for it every single time.
Yeah,
Like
do
I
you
don't.
think like literally in January, February, of Trump's first, like within 30 days, they had this nationwide protest called No Kings with the same mantra that, like, I'm sorry, man.
Pallets
I
of bricks showing up in the random streets, and also like
Yeah,
I'm also like with the amount of surveillance that we have in this country, like no one saw a forklift driving around with pallets of bricks and leaving them in the streets.
yeah, just
Like
right.
no one,
Oh, I did a project in a month.
yeah, it
Like,
Harry
yeah.
Pottered itself there to the intersection of Independence Avenue, right? It's
But
just
think about, like, Google, no trademark infringement here. But like if Google came out with a new logo or slogan, right? You couldn't get it nationwide where everybody knew about it in 30 days. And
no,
everybody uses Google every freaking day, right?
yeah.
Like the people that just don't pay attention to anything unless you tell them specifically, like, pay attention to this. If you can look at the No Kings thing 30 days into the Trump presidency and believe that that was organic,
You're not
man,
a very smart person.
I have a business model that I would like to sell you. Call me,
Yeah,
please. Right?
yeah.
Like, it's just not reasonable.
No, it's not. And this is I tell this to so many Americans too. Like even when I was on the campaign trail, like I need you to participate in your constitutional republic. I need you to do things, especially like a lot of the cattle and farmer rancher guys. Like they're all salt of the earth. Like they are the guys who built America and built Colorado. Like their families go back over 100 something years in this state, and they just sit there and go, "Well, I ain't getting involved. Fuck this." And I'm like, "No, that's the problem. I need people like you to be involved because you're allowing the idiots to take over." And then you're all complaining about how
It's tough.
beef prices aren't good, or you can't afford a new loan for your land, or leasing this out, or crop yields aren't doing this, or the drought, everything. I actually agree with everything that you're saying.
Mm.
What are you going to do about it? Well, I ain't showing up to that meeting. I don't got time for that. Well, you have to, because if you
Well, but
don't,
it's a reality, like, coming from that background, right?
you know, it's
These
tough.
guys are out till sunset feeding cows.
I
They
get it.
don't have the time. It's the people that, are sponging off us that have the time to attend.
And I told them I'm like, and because I'm in the same way, like I don't really have time for this crap. But I had to like I would take off days of work. I would take vacation days to go campaign or go fly out
So,
somewhere, or I'd make a bullshit sick day to make sure I showed up to this 2 hour meeting. Like it does require some internal personal sacrifice against your own income and your own families and stuff. Like you're gonna
yeah.
have to take time away from your kids and your family to go to these meetings and participate. Because
But
if
let
you
me let
don't,
me tie that. Let me tie that. Adam, we are representative government.
hmm
Elect Adam to carry these values forward.
hmm
In your district, you represent that. How the hell are you not elected?
because these people stopped me, and that's the thing is it's
Right.
like our representatives are not representing us, so we should elect new
Absolutely.
representatives, right? But they know that if you don't put the time and effort in, if you don't coalesce a massive group of people to support you to do those things, the establishment's always going to win every single time, and they're counting
Yeah.
on that. They're counting on you not to show up, Eric. Not you specifically, but you know what I mean.
Okay.
You've
Yeah, I
been
know.
showing up. You've been doing the right stuff. But like, this is why like I'm spending the next 2 years, like I'm educating my neighbors and I'm getting the guys at work more involved. And oh man, I don't want to do that. I'm like, shut up. You're showing up to this meeting, Matt. You know what I mean? Or Sarah, like whatever it is. Cause like we have to, like you coming on these podcasts and telling your story, it's showing Americans a side of the government they didn't even know existed. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
this is the
yeah.
reality of what will happen to you if you sit by and do nothing. They will destroy your life to contain the power within that circle. And we have to stop it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about it on the podcast because I am saving and reserving the right to run for office when this is all over, and I'll decide at what point that is. And
Dorito
I
and
think,
Holt take over Colorado.
yeah, I think
The
that you're on
Mustache
it, but
Gang.
I don't want to
I'm
give the
so down for
tactics away.
this.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
so
it's
down for this.
the storm will brew. But man, we'll talk offline. But like I think I know the gaming of that system at this point of watching everything and not having to get involved, but being active, right? Like I've got a strategy to just blitzkrieg, if you will, pardon the term there, which just means bombing overwhelmingly with
Yeah, we're
how
gonna
to
Dresden. We're
approach.
gonna Dresden and Tokyo this place. Or
Yeah, I
sorry,
think.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah, I think if I ever decide to, and not just, I'm not trying to take a Trumpism where, like, on Oprah, he called his shot and said, if I ever run for president, I'll win. But like, I think I've learned enough that by the time I made a decision, it'd be over with. Like, I have a game plan for that, and we'll talk on it. I just don't
Yeah.
want to.
No,
I don't
no,
want
no,
to give
no.
that
And
away.
it's like for you, like my stuff's still in court, your stuff's still in court, win or
Yeah.
lose. Let's say worst case scenario, we both lose, right? And we still are where we are. I'm not giving up on this country or the people and my neighbors that I live with. It's not worth it to me anymore. It's not
Right.
worth
I
it.
know. You,
It's not
I
worth
know
it.
you're on pre-sale right now. I think I'm about to go to that. I gotta tie the bow, but like I have a full book written, like I know you have, just kind of sitting there waiting for
Yeah.
the decision point. But whether I win and that becomes the final chapter, or the proverb of why you still take these actions even if you lose
Yeah.
is the ending, right? It is all the same. The win is the fight, and it's man,
I would agree.
it's been a
And
hard lesson to learn.
I'm going to be excited to read your book whenever you decide to publish it. Like, contact my editor that I gave it to. She's awesome. She's
Yeah,
amazing. Um, it took me 10 years to write that book. But here's the thing. The reason I wrote that book and I ended it, I wanted to end the book on me passing my legislation and then be done with it. But I
yeah,
ended it on my decision to run for Congress, whatever that means for the future. Because, and this is another thing too, Eric, you don't want to spend the next 10 years of your life talking about this story, right?
no,
Exactly. And the reason I wrote the book is because, like, I want to close that chapter of my life. It's a good story. It made me who I am. It turned me into the man I am today. But I have a whole new book I'm trying to write right now. Like, not literally, but figuratively. Is that, like, I want to be a dad. I want to be a father. I want it to either be a representative and, for my citizens, or I just want to move on to the other half of my life. I'm 38. I don't want to spend the next 38 years talking about the first 38 years of my life.
yeah,
Right.
no,
And there's a time when we're going to have to close the chapter on the issues that we both dealt with and show that we're still productive members of society and not living off of, like, the people in the Republican Party, like, well, I was an Olympian 20 years ago. Yeah, I don't care. What'd you do in the last 20 years? What have you done today? What'd you do
yeah,
tomorrow? What are you going to do tomorrow? Right. And I think people like you are really making the positive difference in this country. That's why I'm so glad we're friends. I'm so glad we met. God works in mysterious ways of how we interact with each other. Two mustache bros trying to take over Colorado, which I think is a great campaign slogan. I'm going to start making graphics now. Um,
right.
the mustaches unite. But I just want to thank you for coming on the show today. Like, I think you have laid out such a foundational problem, and we've met across time and space to do these things, and it really means a lot. So before we end the show, where can people find you? Where can people support you? Like, where do they need to go to do all those things?
Yeah, man, I appreciate it again for having me on. Justice for Holt has been the name of the movement. My buddy forgoes the name for me, but justiceforholt.com, HOLT, and justice for preluding that, right? So justiceforholt.com. It's on Facebook under the same name, X, TikTok, YouTube. You can find me anywhere. I have a GoFundMe and a Give Send Go. We are in a pause right now, but like if I get reversed on man, like the legal fees go up. I need support. I'm
Yeah,
working to do this. And other than that, man, just literally like, comment, and share, because every time that happens, it's the opposite of the voices trying to quell my fight, right? Like they are trying at every step to not let this get out. And so anybody that likes, comments, and shares this story on my Justice for Hope platforms helps oppose that, helps stand up for our country, our constitution, what's right, what's wrong, and puts a big FU in their face. So
yeah, that's all that
I love
matters,
you.
guys.
I appreciate you.
No, so when you guys see this episode, make sure you share it and subscribe, all the other things. I'm going to reload it up on all my platforms. Today we streamed it live on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. We had a bunch of guys watching your show in and out today, but we're going to repost it on audio only. So you'll be able to find podcasts and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that fun stuff. So make sure you guys connect with Eric. Justice for Holt. It's right there in the banner on the bottom of his screen. JUSTICEFORHOLT.com. And we will see you guys on the next episode. And yes, I'm going to try to get back to being more consistent. Now that I'm done running for Congress, I should have some more freaking time.
Back to
But yeah,
life.
I had to get back to life a little bit. So we'll see you guys next time on the Tux and Tomahawks podcast, and hang out for a minute while we close out.